Welcome back to Ferocious Education. This is Ed. Today we're going to be talking about Sundial earnings, and let's jump right into this one. So I'm going to be giving you an update here towards the earnings that just released today, around 10 minutes ago from making this video. And without further ado, let's jump right into that. This is going to be the video here. So basically, they did just announce the full year and Q4 2020 financial earnings. And what we see right off the bat is $60.4 million unrestricted cash on December 31st. And I did talk about this in my previous videos regarding the cash they have as of now. And we get a bit of a glimpse about the total, which is $719 million unrestricted cash on hand as of March 15th, 2021, which is a couple of days ago. And not only that, we also see that they actually eliminated all their debt, around $227 million of debt. So right now, they are debt-free, they have compliance, they are roaming in cash. Gross revenues increased by 10%, around $73.3 million in 2020 compared to the prior year. Branded net cannabis sales increased 75% of the total cannabis sales in 2020 from 20% from previous year. Net cannabis revenue for the fourth quarter in 2020 was $13.9 million, which is an increase of 8% over the third quarter of 2020. Now, the general administrative costs were reduced by 18% in 2020 as a result of cost reduction initiative to $32 million compared to $38.9 million in the previous year. Committed $58.9 million the fourth quarter 2020 and further $31.5 million subsequent to year-end strategic cannabis relation portfolio investment. Generated realized investment incomes and fees subsequent to year-end of $9.3 million. And this is something that I did talk about and speculated before, is how they're investing with some of their cash, because they have a massive cash. It's close to $1 billion, three-fourths of $1 billion. And they're going ahead and investing in other cannabis companies, which are really beat down due to the pandemic. And you get to see as well, they did talk about we entered our second year of commercial operations facing a number of internal and external challenges, including operation difficulties, etc., etc. The list goes on there. So I'm not going to cover that. I'm going to go a little bit down below towards the full year 2020 key financial metrics. And we see that they have reported gross revenue of 10% increase. However, their net revenue is 4% lower. Now, they're still on a net loss of around $239 million for the year over year. But with the amount of cash they have, they can continue doing that for 4 years or so and still be able to stay afloat. But hopefully that is not the case. We understand that with the amount of cash they have, with the amount of changes they're doing and eliminating all debt, things are about to look a lot better, at least for the future. And we're going to take a quick look into basic further outlook for the future. So Sundial acquired an expanded library of genetics in 2020 to better serve evolving consumer preferences, cultivating higher potency products and generating better harvest outcomes. The company expects the new genetics will be in the market by Q4 2021, which is also amazing. Sundial was under-indexed in pre-roll format and increased production by 200% in the fourth quarter and into 2021 to meet consumer demands. The company continues to develop a robust innovation pipeline. Another thing to consider with Sundial is that there's a time between your actual plantings and harvest, right? And there's a little bit of a gap there. So with the restructuring we have, we might not see these results that we were expecting until maybe second quarter of 2021 or maybe third or fourth, which is not a bad thing because 2021 is paved to be one of the strongest years for Sundial, especially with the amount of cash they have compliance, and it's amazing. Sundial cultivation and production costs reduced from $10 million per month to $2 million per month throughout the year, but while the company increased output of the finished product. This is massive. They decreased their cost by 80%. I don't know a company that would do that. So far, we're reading it's bullish overall, but we need to look a little bit into the details of here. So gross selling price, we're looking into around $505 compared to $642 and $624 in the previous year. So there's a lower average cost there. Revenue by formats, you see in terms of the vape cartridges, that was only around $18.4 million. Compared to $0.5 million in the year before. So you get to see the vape cartridges had an expansive demand since 2019. That's mainly because of legislations. Now, dried flower was around 51.4 million, which is a 12% decrease from the previous year due to the shift Sundial portfolio from wholesale to branded sales and other formats, and basically in response to consumer preferences, which is something that is better because they're putting the consumers right in mind, and consumers love and usually appreciate that, and it's all about customer retention. Oil. Gross revenues from oil sales was $3.2 million compared to $8.9 million from before, so that's a little bit of a hit there. Concentrates. The company continued to diversify its product mix in 2020 and added solventless extracts late in fourth quarter 2020, and Sundial also entered a license agreement with Simply Solvent Concentrates for the processing and manufacturing of a suite of solventless cannabis concentrates. I did talk about this before, and the edibles, including they're added into the portfolio late in 2020, and its sale distribution agreement with Chocolat, an Alberta-based chocolate maker. So we get to see a little bit of all that stuff coming up and everything we've been talking about for a while shaping up. And if you would like to see more of this kind of material and this information, as we've proven that through all of these videos, we're actually shaped in exactly like the expectations we were looking for, make sure to subscribe, leave notifications on, and in the description you'll find a Discord channel where you can come and talk to me, and I'm a very down-to-earth guy that you can easily talk to. Anyway, revenues by brands. So Top Leaf here, which is the premium brand, if you do remember, we're looking at around $16.5 million net revenue, which is better than what was before. Now, $8.4 million here was 2019 for Sundial, the main brand, and it increased to 16.5, almost double. And Grasslands here seen an increase around 6.9 million compared to 1.1 million in the year before. Palmetto here. Now, the net revenue from the newly introduced Palmetto brand, launched at the end of 2019, is currently 3.4 million. So we don't have a comparison there from the year before. Kilograms sold. The company sold around almost 24,000 kilograms equivalents in 2020, and a 30% increase of year over year from the previous year. Now, anyway, moving on, we're gonna just brush a little bit off a bit of information. There we go. Net revenues. So when we're looking into net revenues here, reported percent change in quarter 3, you're looking at around 8%. Now in terms of quarter 4 2019, you're looking at negative 6%. The things are actually looking a little bit better in this perspective. Now, another thing is that this one is not net positive yet, but we do hope with all the strategic investments that they're actually putting in, and especially saying here, direct or indirect investments in other cannabis companies, both in Canada and in the United States, and internationally optimizing its assets, including the potential sale of Rocky View and Merritt facility, selling limited quantities of inventory or below cost, entering into long-term supply agreements with other licensed product licensing or other strategic transactions. This is massive because they do mention about buying other companies, including as well potential sale of the Rocky View and Merritt facilities. And this brings in to the next question. When is the Cannabis or the the Decriminalization of Cannabis Act going to go to the Senate? And we have a little bit of news on that. Chuck Schumer actually endorsed the state cannabis legislation push. And this brings something important because of the US Senate Majority Leader actually endorsing it, even though we understand that it's a Democratic bill and it's most likely going to go ahead and get an agreement from the Finance Committee where it currently sits. And there's also been a little bit of rumor saying, hey, it might actually come as soon as Thursday. Now, take this with a grain of salt. It will come. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And Sundial is actually in a really good position with around almost more than $700 million to buy any beat down US cannabis company and to expand into the US. And that's a bigger market relatively because of population between Canada and the US, and that will definitely be a bullish thing for them. Now, in terms of institutional buyers, things are looking really good still. We don't see massive selling positions, except for Blackstone. They are at negative almost 240,000 short sales shares. And that's going to be quite interesting seeing them being squeezed up in the next 24 hours. Now, insiders, we don't have anything yet, so let's move on towards technical analysis. Now, for the technical analysis, I usually go through the 1 week, 1 day, etc. I'm just going to highlight some important things because it's already on the run. So 10 SMA is above 30 EMA, and this is the trading action zone where you need to keep an eye. It's between $1.25 and 96 cents. If it ever falls down towards there in the near future, it will bounce right back. Now, we're going to look into a 2-hour perspective because we see this massive push after hours. And you get to see that the MACD was primed for a run. And this is fueling in this mass pressure that literally just sent this skyrocketing up around 10%. Now, in terms of the ADX, it doesn't show that this is a significant strong trend, or at least not the end of a trend yet. It's still the start of a trend. So that's bullish. Now, in terms of moving averages, this one will be actually satisfying to watch because currently, as we're speaking, it's $1.67. It's above the Bollinger Bands, which would be interesting to see. And it might, last time it was above the Bollinger Bands, it did skyrocket to $4. Stochastic fast and stochastic slow are both showing a little bit of a curve towards the positive side, and we need to look into a 1-hour perspective on the Fibonacci retracements. And we're actually going to do first 3 months, 1 day to capture that 396 because we do want to see this resistances towards that road. And then we're going to go back towards the 1-day perspective, the 1-hour perspective, and we see one thing that is really massive. There is a very, very strong resistance at the $1.77. If we do break that on the Fibonacci retracements, we might actually still see a $3 sometime in the near future. The current support on the Fibonacci retracements that is close to this price is $1.25. And from there on, I do want to go ahead and highlight some price line actions that are important to me. The current strong resistance that just turned to a support, which is amazing, is $1.63. Below there, you're looking at $1.60. Below there, you're looking at $1.40. Below there, $1.43. Below there, a very strong, an important one, $1.40, $1.34, $1.32, $1.26. You're looking at $1.10 and all the way to 99 cents. And we see these many levels of support that if the price point was to drop, it will hit them and it will bounce right back or have a strong potential of bouncing right back. The next resistance that is really crucial to hit is, I would say, in my perspective, $1.72 and around $1.83. And then from there, we're looking at $2. And let's go back to the 1-day perspective. And from $2, we're looking at $2.27. And then right off the bat, $3 and then $4. There's not a lot of resistance in that level, to be specifically speaking. Now, it comes to the question to Ed, what do you think about this one? I definitely, if you were to ask me, same time last year, I would have said Sundial. Even though I invested in it, I still bought into Sundial sometime last year, and I did sell for a good profit. I would have said they're a company that has a bit of troubles. They have a massive amount of debt. But today, speaking today, this kind of provision, and I've showed you previous videos before, the sentiment of Sundial is completely changing because of the amount of cash they do have. And in that sense, you do expect some bullish investments and trends. Sundial was saved by us, and that is a fact. The big movement where they were able to really throw a lot of these shares from the shelves and reach compliance before having to do a reverse split, that was all this retail investors push. So keep it going. If you'd like to join our Discord, do so, and have a wonderful day.